welcome. It's another beautiful day to learn about and perhaps even love yourself. It is glorious, and maybe the glory is keeping you from seeing my physical self, but may illuminate the deeper self within. I've been talking a bit about, the election this week and varied reactions to it in this country, around the world, even in my own community. And one of the big issues was reproductive rights for women. One side was blatantly for it. The other side, a lot of campaigning was going on being against those rights. So with what we've been talking about the past couple days, one thing I thought, what is this need to control others? Because it's not new. I was looking at this, there's this new information on Pompeii that just came out where we had made assumptions based on our perceived way of living, which is that certain bodies that were found together constituted a family, or someone that was holding a small child and wearing a bracelet was a female because that would be a feminine role. And now DNA analysis is proving all this wrong, that the person holding the small child as they died was a male, and that many of the people grouped together in residences, which people would think, oh yeah, it's a husband, it's a wife, it's their kids, actually showed people of very different genetic backgrounds and cultural heritages, challenging the idea of what is a family. And part of the family, as now being defined, which who knows how it'll change in coming years, was that people who were enslaved or freed from enslavement, manumitted, were considered part of the family and lived together and died together. And so this issue of slavery, and then I've been reading some other things about ancient Rome and the Stoic philosophers, anyhow, and all this idea of slavery and freedom, which is essentially what the Bhagavad Gita is about. Are you going to live your life freely as you choose, or are you going to be a slave to your conditioning, to the expectations of others, to the expectations of society? And as we look at the start of chapter 16, the title sums it up. However, the title can be challenging for us in the West. Chapter 16, the title can be, and is often translated as, the yoga of discerning between the divine and the demonic. Now, here in the West, or for those of us raised in Judeo-Christian traditions, that conjures up visions of heaven and hell, and angels and gods being divine, and then these little beings with pitchforks, tails, and horns being demonic. But in the Gita's language, which Krishna goes to pains to describe, the divine is anything that frees you or others, and the demonic is anything that binds or restricts you and others. And for the spiritual journey, Krishna is saying, look, Arjun, if you want to be free, if you want to be liberated, you have to look at where you are binding yourself and others with your expectations, for example, with your shoulds. And if you can let those go, you'll be free. And this difficult choice you see before you will become an easy choice. And it's amazing to me how this comes up so much in spiritual life. This is the choice. The divine, and Krishna says this explicitly. We'll read more into this later. But I thought, let's look at the title. One of the goals of life and spiritual life, according to Krishna and other philosophies around the world, is recognizing where you are bound, recognizing where others have bound you, recognizing where you might bind others. And then that brings up the question, why would we bind or seek to control or limit others? And the answer is, as one teacher I knew said, if you're stuck outside, look inside, and vice versa. If you feel stuck on working on something inside, look outside. So when we find the need to control others or our environment or even ourselves, I can't do that again, even if it's inherent to our nature, this indicates that we feel we lack true control within. And the idea of developing self-control. And this reminds me of something of a salacious tale from my undergrad days when I was studying psych. And this teacher, who is a renowned expert in BDSM, bondage, domination, submission, masochism, or sadism, masochism, excuse me. I think the S can mean a couple things. He actually read a letter from Penthouse one day in our class, and I thought, wow, how does he get away with this? But his message was, from his studies, the people that were most into being dominated in such situations were people, and generally men, because men are allowed these positions, men with high-powered jobs where they have to be seen as being in control or where they have control of others. And then this pursuit gave them the chance to let go of control. So we need that balance. If we want freedom around us, we need to look within. How are we binding ourselves? Self-control does not mean necessarily restricting ourselves, but if we find the need to control others, we have to look at what's going on inside, because little self-control is much different than larger S self, the true self-control. And it's easy to confuse. Like, while I'm talking about it in English, I'm like, it might be confusing, but that's because of the lack of capital letters in Sanskrit, I think. So if you feel out of control outside, how can you develop self-control with capital S inside? Or if you feel the need to control others outside, what do you feel you're not really regulating within yourself? The world around us reflects the world within us, whether we like it or not, and how we live in the outer world reflects what is going on inside and our sufferings. So can you be free? We're going to do our physical practice. And just like yesterday, I invite you to be free of expectations as to what that balance pose looks like for you. If you look at me and you say, I have to control myself and be perfectly steady and in this position for 10 breaths, listen within. Find that capital self-control, which often means being yourself, letting the true big S self be in control instead of the little ego, even for just a few breaths. Switch sides. Alrighty. Now it's time for our 5 minutes of glorious contemplation. So I've taught meditation for some time. Well, I teach techniques of meditation. Everybody's got to do the meditating themselves. And it's amazing to me how many people are like, I can't meditate because it's too noisy. I can't get my neighbors to be quiet. I can't shut off the traffic. I can't relieve this discomfort or that. It's trying to control the outer world. And only then can they be successful meditation. When meditation really is about, like, for the next 5 minutes, can you let the world do what it wants to and needs to do? And you just control yourself. Manage might be a better word. You manage yourself. You manage to be what you want to be in this next 5 minutes, even with the world doing what it wants. It takes real strength to do that. So let's see. 5 minutes. Can you make it happen? Wonderful. Welcome back. I invite you to try this throughout your day. Just let the world be as it is, and you manage the one thing you can manage, your response, yourself. And if you'd like more about this in a poetic form, I highly recommend the poem If by Rudyard Kipling. So, if the fates allow, I will see you again tomorrow. But if the outer circumstance doesn't let that happen, please know that I see you in my heart all the time. I will be chanting for you in the healing meditation coming up next. And if you can join 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, November 9th, 2024, you can still use the link below to find a way to sign up. But whether you do or not, I am chanting for you. I hope for your freedom and nothing but the best for your life. Until we meet again.